There's something strange about failure. It doesn't arrive with noise or warning signs. It doesn't feel like everything is falling apart. In fact, most of the time it feels normal, almost comfortable. You wake up in the morning, go to work, handle your responsibilities, pay your bills on time, and from the outside, your life looks completely fine, maybe even respectable. People around you think you're doing okay, maybe even progressing. But deep inside, slowly and quietly, something isn't working. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack intelligence, and not because you don't try hard enough, but because you've been playing a game your entire life without ever being taught how to actually win it. Let me tell you about someone very ordinary, someone you might even recognize in yourself. His name is Daniel. He's 25, has a decent job, works hard, stays disciplined, the kind of person everyone points at and says he's going to make it someday. And for a while, even Daniel believes that. Every morning he wakes up early, pushes himself to stay consistent, tries to save money, and at the end of every month he tells himself the same hopeful line, "This time I'll finally get ahead." But somehow, every single month, something happens. Rent increases a little, an unexpected expense shows up, maybe his phone breaks, or he decides to take a small trip to relax, or just spends here and there on things that feel normal, nothing extreme, nothing irresponsible, just life. And yet, no matter how careful he tries to be, his bank account never really grows. It stays stuck, like he's running but not moving forward. At first, Daniel thinks the solution is simple. I just need to earn more. So he starts working harder, taking extra shifts, learning new skills, pushing himself beyond his limits, sacrificing comfort, sacrificing time, doing everything people say leads to success. And eventually, it works. He gets a raise, maybe even a better job, his income increases, and for a moment it feels like things are finally changing. But then something unexpected happens. His lifestyle grows at the exact same speed. A better apartment feels justified now, better clothes seem necessary, more comfort feels earned. And before he realizes it, he's right back where he started. Different income, same situation. And this right here is where most people get trapped, because they believe the problem is income, but the real problem is structure. No one ever sat Daniel down and explained that money has levels, that at the first level you trade your time for money and it feels simple, almost logical, work more, earn more. But at the second level, money behaves differently. It's no longer about how much you earn, it's about what you keep and what you do with it. Daniel never learned this, so he kept doing what felt safe, saving small amounts, keeping cash, avoiding anything that seemed risky, because in his mind, safety meant stability. But what he didn't realize was that this so-called safety was quietly working against him. Inflation doesn't show up dramatically, it doesn't knock on your door or demand attention, but every single year, your money loses value silently. If prices rise by even a small percentage and your money stays the same, you're not standing still. You're moving backward. And this is where things start to feel uncomfortable, because the solution isn't just saving more money, it's learning how to make money work for you. At some point, Daniel hears about investing, about stocks, markets, compounding, ideas that sound powerful but also intimidating. He sees charts going up and then suddenly crashing, hears stories of people losing everything, and fear begins to take over. So he hesitates, he waits, he tells himself he'll start later, when things feel more certain, more stable, more right. But later turns into months, and months quietly turn into years, and without realizing it, he loses something far more valuable than money: time. This becomes the second trap, waiting for certainty in a system that actually rewards action. Eventually, something shifts. Daniel meets someone different, not flashy, not overly rich, but calm, confident, and completely in control. This person doesn't talk about working more hours or chasing bigger paychecks. Instead, he talks about systems, about assets, about positioning yourself in a way where money starts flowing differently. And he says something simple, something that sticks. If you only work for money, you will always be limited. But if money starts working for you, everything changes. And for the first time, Daniel sees what he's been missing all along. He doesn't suddenly become rich. He doesn't make a huge, risky move. He simply starts small, very small. He begins cutting unnecessary expenses, not perfectly, just consistently. He tracks where his money goes, not to restrict himself, but to understand himself. And then he does something that feels uncomfortable. He invests, not a large amount, just enough to feel involved, just enough to care. At first, nothing exciting happens. Weeks pass, then months, small gains, small losses, nothing dramatic, nothing life-changing. It almost feels pointless, but beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. He's learning. He starts understanding how markets move, how emotions influence decisions, how patience often wins over reaction. And slowly, almost invisibly, things begin to shift. His money starts growing, not fast, not in a way that grabs attention, but steadily, quietly, consistently. But more importantly than the money, his thinking begins to change. He stops chasing things just for temporary satisfaction, stops upgrading his life just because he can, and starts asking better questions, deeper questions. Is this helping me grow, or is it just making me feel good for a moment? And with time, he begins building assets. His savings turn into investments. His investments slowly begin generating income, and little by little, momentum builds. And one day, without any dramatic moment, without any sudden breakthrough, he realizes something profound. The game he was playing before was never designed to make him rich. It was designed to keep him stable, predictable, controlled. Because the system doesn't reward effort alone, it rewards understanding. And the harsh truth is this: most people will never be rich, not because they lack potential, but because they never change the way they think about money. They stay focused only on income, ignore structure, avoid risk completely, delay action, and repeat the same cycle for years, sometimes for an entire lifetime. Being rich isn't just about earning more, it's about understanding how money actually works, controlling your spending, building assets, taking calculated risks, and thinking long-term in a world that constantly pushes you toward short-term decisions. And the hardest part is, no one forces you to change. You can live your entire life doing everything that seems right, following the same path as everyone else, and still end up in the same place. So the real question isn't why people aren't rich. The real question is, at what point do you decide to stop playing the old game and finally start learning the real one? Because until that moment comes, nothing changes. But once it does, everything does.